Every single day, you make about 35,000 decisions. 35,000. And here is what nobody tells you. Most of them are bad. A study from the Frontiers in Cognition journal found that as you make more decisions throughout the day, the quality of those decisions drops hard. Surgeons near the end of their shift were 10.5% less likely to recommend surgery even when it was the right call. Financial analysts who made multiple predictions in a single day became less accurate as the hours went on. This is not about intelligence. This is about biology. And it gets worse. The part of your brain responsible for good decisions, the prefrontal cortex, it tires out like a muscle. A study from the Paris Brain Institute showed that this region has to constantly balance effort against reward while also managing something called meta-decision, which is basically your brain deciding how long to keep thinking about the decision itself. So your brain is not only making the choice, it is also deciding when to stop thinking about the choice. That is a lot of work. But here is the good news, and I mean really good news. Decision-making is a skill. It is not something you are born with or without. It is something you can train, sharpen, and master. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that, step by step. Stay with me because by the end, you will have a complete system for making better decisions in your career, your relationships, your health, and your money. And around step 7, I am going to reveal the one technique that ancient monks and modern CEOs both use to make decisions that change everything. Let us start with why decisions feel so hard in the first place. A study published in the journal Behavioral Brain Research found that serotonin, one of the most important chemicals in your brain, plays a critical role in how you weigh risks and rewards. When serotonin levels are off, you either become too cautious or too reckless. And here's the thing that will shock you. About 90% of your body's serotonin is not made in your brain. It is made in your gut, your stomach, your intestines. Yes, a study from the journal Food Science and Nutrition confirmed that enterochromaffin cells in your gastrointestinal system produce the vast majority of your serotonin. So when people say, trust your gut, that is not just a saying. There is real science behind it. Your gut and your brain talk to each other through something called the gut-brain axis. The vagus nerve acts as the central highway between the two. When your gut is unhealthy, your brain gets bad signals, and bad signals lead to bad decisions. So the first thing to understand is this. Your ability to make good decisions does not start with your mind. It starts with your body. And I will show you exactly what to do about this. But first, let us talk about the biggest enemy of good decisions. Decision fatigue. This is the silent killer of good choices. A systematic review in the Taylor and Francis Journal analyzed 82 studies and found something alarming. The more decisions healthcare workers made during a shift, the worse those decisions became. Doctors prescribed more unnecessary antibiotics late in the day. They became more conservative with treatments even when patients needed aggressive care. The mental energy it takes to decide runs out. Think about your own life for a second. You wake up and decide what to wear, then what to eat, then which route to take to work, then whether to answer that email now or later, then whether to take your lunch break or skip it, then what to have for lunch. By 3 p.m., you have made hundreds of small decisions, and your brain is tired. So when the big decision comes, like whether to invest money, or have a serious conversation with your partner, or accept a new job offer, your brain is running on empty. This is not a character flaw, this is how your brain works. A concept analysis from the National Institutes of Health identified 3 types of triggers for decision fatigue. Decisional triggers, which means too many choices, self-regulatory triggers, which means your willpower is drained, and situational triggers like stress and time pressure. The key is to reduce the number of unimportant decisions you make so you have more energy for the ones that matter. And I will give you a simple method for that in just a moment. Now, here is something wild. You would think that having more options would make you happier, right? Wrong. Psychologist Barry Schwartz wrote an entire book about this called The Paradox of Choice. His research showed that when people have too many options, they actually become more anxious, less satisfied, and sometimes they make no choice at all. This is what scientists call choice paralysis. There was a famous experiment, the jam study. Researchers set up a table at a grocery store. On one day, they offered people 24 different flavors of jam. On another day, just 6. The table with 24 flavors attracted more people, but the table with only 6 flavors resulted in 10 times more actual purchases. People saw all those options and just froze. Like standing in front of a restaurant menu with 200 items, and you just stare at it for 10 minutes and then say, just give me what he is having. Schwartz also identified 2 types of decision makers. Satisficers are people who pick the option that is good enough. Maximizers are people who search for the absolute best option. And guess what? Satisficers are consistently happier. They spend less time worrying about what they might have missed. So here is your first real lesson. Stop trying to find the perfect choice. Look for the good enough choice. It will save your energy and your happiness. Let us go deeper into the brain. A landmark study from PubMed mapped out exactly which parts of the prefrontal cortex handle different types of decisions. The orbitofrontal cortex handles reward-based decisions, plus like choosing between the chocolate cake or the fruit salad after dinner. The dorsolateral prefrontal cortex handles complex decisions with multiple pieces of information, plus like choosing which health insurance plan to buy when you have 5 different options in front of you. And the anterior cingulate cortex sorts through conflicting options, plus like deciding whether to stay at a stable job or leave for a risky startup. A study published in Current Biology showed something terrifying about what happens when you do not sleep. When you are sleep deprived, the connection between your prefrontal cortex and your amygdala, which is your brain's emotional alarm system, basically breaks. The amygdala goes into overdrive, reacting to everything emotionally, while the prefrontal cortex, the part that is supposed to keep your emotions in check, goes quiet. It is like taking the brakes off a car going downhill. This is why you make terrible decisions when you are tired. You snap at people. You eat junk food. You send that text you should not send. It is not because you are weak. It is because the part of your brain that controls impulse and logic has been disconnected from the part that controls emotion. And this brings us to step 1 of better decision making. Step 1. Protect your sleep like your life depends on it. Because it does. A review published in a leading neuroscience journal found that sleep deprivation amplifies reactivity in the amygdala and weakens the connection to the medial prefrontal cortex. In plain language, when you sleep badly, your emotions get louder and your logic gets quieter. A study examining partial sleep deprivation found that even cutting your sleep by 50% for one night made people significantly worse at risk assessment. They took bigger gambles. They ignored warning signs. They became more impulsive. And here is the scariest part. They did not even realize it. They thought they were performing fine. So you could be walking around right now making terrible decisions and thinking you are doing great. Here is what to do. Get 7 to 9 hours of sleep. Not 6, not I will catch up on the weekend. 7 to 9 consistently. And make your biggest decisions in the morning when your prefrontal cortex is fresh. Plus, never decide whether to quit your job at 11 p.m. after a long day. Never decide whether to end a relationship after 3 glasses of wine. Never choose to send that angry email to your boss right before bed. Morning brain and nighttime brain are almost like 2 different people. Step 2. Feed your decision-making engine. Remember what I said about serotonin in the gut? A study from the PMC database on the gut-brain axis explained that the gut produces neurotransmitters like serotonin, GABA, and dopamine, all of which directly affect how you think, feel, and decide. The vagus nerve carries these signals from your gut to your brain. If your gut is inflamed, unhealthy, or imbalanced, those signals get scrambled. So what do you eat? Focus on foods rich in tryptophan. That is the building block of serotonin. Plus, things like eggs in the morning, turkey in your sandwich, salmon for dinner, nuts as a snack, and dark leafy greens in your salad. Also, eat foods that support your gut bacteria. Fermented foods like yogurt, kimchi, and sauerkraut. A study on probiotics and serotonin showed that certain gut bacteria can actually increase serotonin production and improve the communication along the gut-brain axis. This is not just eat healthy advice, this is neuroscience. What you eat literally changes the chemical signals that reach your decision-making brain. Garbage food equals garbage signals equals garbage decisions. Clean fuel equals clear signals equals sharp thinking. It is that simple. Step 3. Reduce the number of tiny choices you make every day. Remember decision fatigue? The solution is automation. Plus, Steve Jobs wore the same black turtleneck every day. Mark Zuckerberg wears the same gray shirt. Barack Obama said he only wore blue or gray suits because, in his words, he had too many other decisions to make. Now, I am not saying you need to wear the same outfit every day, but I am saying you should set up systems for the small stuff. Plus, meal prep on Sunday so you do not have to decide what to eat 5 times a day during the week. Set your clothes out the night before so your morning brain is not wasting power on that. Create a default morning routine that you follow without thinking. Wake up, water, stretch, breakfast, done. Every small decision you eliminate is like putting fuel back in your tank for the big ones. Think of your daily decision energy like a phone battery. Every little choice drains it by 1 or 2%. By the time you need it for something important, it is at 5% and flashing red. Automate the small decisions and you save your battery for what matters. Step 4. Use the 2-minute rule for fast decisions. If a decision will not matter in 2 years, do not spend more than 2 minutes on it. Seriously, most of the decisions we agonize over are completely meaningless in the long run. Plus, which restaurant to eat at tonight? 2 minutes. Which color to paint the bedroom wall? 2 minutes. Which seat to pick at the cinema? 2 minutes. Stop overthinking things that do not deserve your deep thinking. This rule does 2 things. First, it saves your mental energy for real decisions. Second, it trains your brain to tell the difference between high-stakes and low-stakes choices. Most people treat every decision like it is life or death. It is not. Plus, choosing the wrong coffee order will not ruin your Tuesday. Choosing the wrong career path might change your entire life. Those decisions deserve time and thought. Write this down somewhere you will see it every day. Will this matter in 2 years? If the answer is no, decide fast and move on. Your future self will thank you for not wasting brain power on things that do not count. Step 5. For big decisions, use the 10-10-10 framework. Ask yourself 3 questions. How will I feel about this decision in 10 minutes? How will I feel in 10 months? How will I feel in 10 years? This simple framework forces you to zoom out from the emotion of the moment and look at the bigger picture. Imagine you get a job offer in another city. In 10 minutes, you feel scared because it means leaving your friends. In 10 months, you feel excited because you are growing in your career and meeting new people. In 10 years, you feel grateful because that one move changed the entire direction of your life. Now the fear does not control the decision. The vision does. This is powerful because most bad decisions are made based on how we feel right now. The 10-10-10 method uses time as a lens. It separates temporary emotion from long-term impact. And here's the connection. This is actually very close to a principle in Stoic philosophy. The Stoics believed that most of our suffering comes from confusing what is temporary with what is permanent. The 10-10-10 method is basically ancient Stoic wisdom dressed up in modern clothing. Now let us talk about emotions. Because here is the truth. You cannot remove emotions from decisions, and you should not try. Research from the PMC on prefrontal cortex damage studied patients who had injuries to the ventromedial prefrontal cortex. These patients could think logically, but they could not make decisions in real life. They would spend hours deciding where to eat. They would invest money in obviously bad deals. Their IQ was fine. Their emotions were broken. The famous case of Phineas Gage showed this clearly. After an iron rod went through the front of his brain, Gage could still think and speak, but he lost the ability to use emotions to guide his choices. He became impulsive, rude, and completely unable to plan for the future. Emotions are not the enemy of good decisions. Emotions are information. The problem is not that you feel things. The problem is when feelings control you without you knowing it. So the goal is not to be emotionless. The goal is to be aware of your emotions while still using logic. This is what psychologists call emotional intelligence. And guess what builds emotional intelligence faster than almost anything else? I will tell you in Step 7. Step 6. Before making any important decision, name your emotion. This sounds too simple to work, but research on emotional regulation and the prefrontal cortex shows that simply labeling an emotion reduces its power over you. When you say, "I am feeling anxious right now," instead of just being anxious, the prefrontal cortex activates and the amygdala calms down. Say you are about to invest money in a friend's business idea. Before you write the check, pause. Ask, "What am I feeling right now?" Maybe the answer is, "I feel guilty because he is my friend and I do not want to let him down." Good. Now you know that guilt is pushing you toward a decision that might not be financially smart. The guilt does not disappear, but it stops driving the car. This is called affect labeling in psychology, and it is one of the fastest ways to regain control over your decision-making. Practice it daily. Before every big choice, pause and say out loud, "I feel blank." Fill in the blank. Fear, excitement, pressure, guilt, hope. Once you name it, you tame it. Step 7. This is the one I have been building up to. The secret weapon that monks in Buddhist temples and executives in Silicon Valley boardrooms both use. It is meditation. But wait, before you roll your eyes and click away, hear me out, because the science on this is overwhelming. A study published in Psychological Science found that just 15 minutes of mindfulness meditation made people significantly better at avoiding the sunk cost bias, which is the tendency to stick with bad decisions just because you have already invested time or money. The researchers found that meditation reduced focus on the past and future, lowered negative emotions, and helped people make choices based on present reality. 15 minutes! A study from the Virginia Tech Carilion Research Institute went even further. They found that regular meditators use different brain regions when making decisions. Non-meditators relied heavily on the anterior insula, the part linked to emotional disgust. Meditators showed almost no activity there. Instead, they used areas linked to body awareness and present moment attention. They were able to make rational decisions even in unfair situations where most people would react emotionally. A landmark study from the journal Psychiatry Research showed that just 8 weeks of mindfulness practice led to measurable changes in brain structure. More gray matter in the prefrontal cortex, less reactivity in the amygdala, better ability to process information without being overwhelmed by emotions. Your brain physically changes. A 2023 study from ETH Zurich showed something else incredible. People who meditated for just 15 minutes a day for 2 weeks became less likely to avoid negative information, meaning They were more willing to look at uncomfortable truths about their health, their finances, and their relationships. They made better decisions because they had all the information, not just the information that felt good. And this connects beautifully to an ancient Eastern idea. In Buddhist philosophy, there is a concept called beginner's mind, approaching every situation as if you are seeing it for the first time, without the weight of past assumptions. Modern neuroscience is basically proving what Buddhist monks have known for 2,500 years. Meditation clears the mental clutter and lets you see situations as they really are, not as your fears and biases tell you they are. So here is how to start. You do not need to sit cross-legged on a mountain. Just sit comfortably. Close your eyes, breathe in for 4 counts, hold for 4 counts, breathe out for 4 counts, hold for 4 counts. This is called box breathing. Do this for 5 minutes every morning before you make any decisions. As thoughts come, and they will come, just notice them. Do not fight them. Do not judge them. Think of your thoughts like cars passing on a highway. You are sitting on the side of the road, watching them go by. You do not chase them. You do not jump in front of them. You just watch. That is mindfulness. Do this for 5 minutes a day for 1 week, then bump it up to 10 minutes, then 15. A Harvard study found that people spend about 47% of their waking hours thinking about something other than what they are currently doing. Almost half your day is spent on mental autopilot. Meditation brings you back to the present, where the best decisions are made. Step 8. Write your decisions down before making them. This might sound old-fashioned, but there is real science behind it. When a decision exists only in your head, your brain runs in circles. It jumps between emotions, memories, fears, and hopes like a pinball machine. But when you write it down, you force your brain to organize the information. Here is a simple method. Draw a line down the middle of a page. On the left, write reasons to do it. On the right, write reasons not to. Then, score each reason from 1 to 10 based on how important it is. Add up the scores. Like if you are deciding whether to move abroad for a new job, on the left you might write career growth, 9, and new experiences, 8. On the right you write leaving family, 7, and uncertainty about housing, 4. The numbers do not make the decision for you, but they bring clarity. Benjamin Franklin used a version of this exact method. He called it his moral algebra. He would list the pros and cons and then cross out items of equal weight on opposite sides until one side clearly won. It is simple, it is old, and it works because it takes the invisible mess in your head and makes it visible on paper. Step 9. Actively seek out the opposite viewpoint. This is called confirmation bias, and it is one of the biggest traps in decision-making. Your brain naturally looks for information that supports what you already believe and ignores information that challenges it. If you are excited about buying a new car, you will notice every article that says it is a great model, but you will skip the reviews that say the engine has problems. If you already like a political candidate, you will pay attention to their good speeches and ignore their bad policies. Your brain is basically a lawyer, always building a case for what it already wants. The fix is simple but uncomfortable. Before making a big decision, ask yourself, what would someone who disagrees with me say? Then actually research that side. Talk to someone who has a different opinion. Read the 1-star reviews, not just the 5-star ones. The best decisions are made when you understand both sides, not just the side you want to hear. Step 10. Use the regret minimization framework. This comes from Jeff Bezos, and it is brilliant in its simplicity. Before making a big life decision, project yourself to age 80. Sit in a rocking chair. Look back on your life. Ask, will I regret not doing this? Bezos used this exact method when deciding whether to leave his high-paying Wall Street job to start Amazon. At 80, would he regret not trying? Yes. Would he regret trying and failing? Probably not. The regret of not trying is almost always bigger than the regret of trying and failing, because at least when you try, you get an answer. When you do not try, you get a question mark that haunts you forever. This connects deeply to a principle in existentialist philosophy. The philosopher Soren Kierkegaard said that anxiety is the dizziness of freedom. We are anxious because we know we have choices, and we are terrified of choosing wrong. But Kierkegaard also taught that not choosing is still a choice, and usually the worst one. The regret test forces you to be honest about what truly matters to you when all the noise is stripped away. Let us talk about stress and decisions. Because stress is not just uncomfortable, it physically rewires how your brain makes choices. Research from the University of South Florida showed that stress triggers something called premature closure. Your brain shuts down the information gathering process too early and jumps to a conclusion before it has all the facts. Think of it like trying to solve a puzzle, but someone is screaming in your ear. You do not have the mental space to look at all the pieces, so you grab whatever piece is closest and force it to fit, even if it is wrong. That is what stress does to your decision-making. You stop analyzing and start reacting. And remember what we learned about sleep? A study on sleep and the prefrontal cortex confirmed that stress and sleep loss together create a perfect storm for bad decisions. The amygdala, your emotional brain, gets hyperactive. The prefrontal cortex, your rational brain, gets sluggish. So you have more emotion and less logic at the exact same time. If you are stressed and sleep deprived, do not make important decisions. Just don't. Here is something most people do not know about stress. When you are stressed, your body releases a hormone called cortisol. A little bit of cortisol is fine. It helps you focus and respond to danger. But chronic stress keeps cortisol levels high all the time. And high cortisol damages the hippocampus, which is where your brain stores and retrieves memories. So not only are you making emotional decisions, you are making them with bad information because your memory is not working properly. Imagine trying to make a financial decision, but you cannot clearly remember what happened the last time you invested. Or trying to decide about a relationship, but your memory of past conversations is foggy and unreliable. That is what chronic stress does. It does not just cloud your thinking, it corrupts the data your thinking is based on. So step 11. And this one is non-negotiable. You must manage your stress if you want to make good decisions. Exercise, sleep, meditate, walk in nature, talk to someone, whatever works for you. But do something. Because an unmanaged stress response is like trying to drive with mud on your windshield. You think you can see the road, but you cannot. Step 12. The 24-hour rule. Never make an emotional decision on the same day the emotion hits. Got a terrible email from your boss? Do not reply today. Got in a fight with your partner? Do not make any relationship decisions today. Got offered a once-in-a-lifetime deal? Sleep on it. It will still be there tomorrow. The reason this works goes back to the neuroscience we covered earlier. Strong emotions temporarily hijack the prefrontal cortex. Your amygdala takes over. But after a good night's sleep, a study from the journal Social Cognitive and Affective Neuroscience showed that sleep restores the connection between the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex. The emotional volume gets turned down, and the rational volume gets turned up. I know this is hard in practice. When someone insults you, every fiber in your body wants to fire back immediately. When you see a sale ending in 12 hours, every part of you screams, "Buy now!" But that urgency, that rush, is exactly the signal that you need to wait. Urgency is the enemy of wisdom. Real opportunities do not expire in 24 hours, and real solutions do not require you to react in 24 seconds. Step 13. Gather enough information, but not too much. There is a concept in decision science called satisficing, and it comes from the economist Herbert Simon, who actually won the Nobel Prize for this work. The idea is that in most decisions, seeking the perfect amount of information is impossible. Instead, you should gather information until you reach a point of good enough, and then decide. Because here's what happens when you gather too much information: analysis paralysis. You read 47 reviews, you watch 12 comparison videos, you ask 9 friends, and you end up more confused than when you started. Every new piece of information contradicts the last piece, and now your brain is spinning in circles. The rule of thumb is this: for any decision, consult 3 good sources. Not 1, because that is biased. Not 10, because that is overwhelming. 3. Plus. Want to buy a laptop? Read 3 expert reviews, then decide. Want to pick a school for your child? Visit 3 schools, then decide. Want to hire someone? Interview 3 candidates, then decide. 3 gives you enough perspective without drowning you. Step 14. Set a deadline for your decision. Without a deadline, decisions expand to fill all available time. You will think about it for weeks. You will go back and forth. You will drive yourself and everyone around you crazy. But when you say, "I will decide by Friday at noon," suddenly your brain gets focused. Deadlines work because they create what psychologists call positive constraint. When your options are infinite and your time is unlimited, your brain short-circuits. But when the clock is ticking, your brain prioritizes. It naturally pushes the unimportant stuff to the side and focuses on what matters most. Here is a practical tip. For small decisions, set a deadline of 1 hour. For medium decisions, 1 week. For life-changing decisions, 1 month. And once the deadline arrives, you decide. No extensions. No, just 1 more day to think. Decide and move forward. Because a good decision made on time is almost always better than a perfect decision made too late. Step 15. Know the difference between reversible and irreversible decisions. Jeff Bezos calls these one-way doors and two-way doors. A two-way door is a decision you can undo. Plus, like choosing a new hairstyle, if you hate it, it grows back. Or trying a new restaurant. If the food is bad, you never go again. No big deal. A one-way door is a decision you cannot undo. Plus, like having a child, signing a 30-year mortgage, getting a specific tattoo on your face. These decisions deserve careful thought, research, and the full decision-making process we have been discussing. But here is the problem. Most people treat two-way doors like one-way doors. They agonize over completely reversible decisions as if their life depends on it. Should I try this new gym? Should I change my phone wallpaper? Should I start that online course? These are all two-way doors. Try it. If it does not work, turn around and walk back through the door. Save your deep thinking for the decisions that actually cannot be reversed. Step 16. Define your values before decisions find you. Most people wait until a big decision arrives and then try to figure out what they care about. That is backwards. If you do not know what you value, every decision becomes a struggle because you have no compass. Sit down and write your top 5 values. Not 10, not 20, 5. Maybe they are family, health, freedom, creativity, and honesty. Or maybe they are security, adventure, knowledge, community, and faith. Whatever they are, write them down. Then, when a decision shows up, run it through your values. Does this choice support my top 5, or does it conflict with them? This is similar to what the ancient Chinese philosopher Confucius taught. He believed that a person who knows their values does not hesitate when decisions come. Because the values have already decided for them, the decision was made long before the moment of choice. It was made when you decided who you wanted to be. And then, the choices just follow naturally. Step 17. Control your environment before you decide. Your surroundings have a massive impact on your choices, and most people do not realize it. Plus, If you keep chips and cookies on your kitchen counter, you are going to eat them. Not because you are weak, but because the environment made the decision for you before your brain even engaged. This principle applies to every area of life. Plus, if you want to make better financial decisions, unsubscribe from every marketing email that tempts you to buy things. If you want to make better health decisions, arrange your fridge so the vegetables are at eye level and the ice cream is hidden in the back. If you want to make better career decisions, spend time with people who are ambitious, not people who complain all day. In Japanese culture, there is a concept called kaizen, which means continuous small improvements. The idea is that you do not need massive willpower to make better choices. You just need to design your environment so that the good choice is the easy choice. Rearrange the world around you so that the path of least resistance leads to the decision you actually want to make. Step 18. Be aware of social influence. Here is a hard truth. A lot of your decisions are not actually yours. They are decisions you make because of the people around you. You buy things because your friends have them. You choose careers because your parents expect it. You stay in situations because everyone else seems to be doing fine. There is a well-known psychology concept called social proof. It means that when we are unsure what to do, we look at what others are doing and copy them. Plus, like when you walk past a restaurant with a long line outside and you think, that place must be good. Maybe it is. Or maybe everyone in line is just following the person in front of them. The fix is awareness. Before every big decision, ask, am I choosing this because I want it? Or because someone else wants it for me? This one question can save you years of living someone else's life. The philosopher Lao Tzu said something beautiful about this. When you are content to simply be yourself and do not compare or compete, everyone will respect you. Make your decisions, not theirs. Step 19. Stop falling for the sunk cost trap. This is one of the most dangerous decision-making errors. A study from INSEAD and the Wharton School proved that people consistently throw good money after bad, stay in failing projects, and continue bad relationships just because they have already invested time or money. You have been in a relationship for 5 years. It is making you miserable. But you think, I have already given 5 years. I cannot quit now. That is the sunk cost trap. Those 5 years are gone. They are not coming back whether you stay or leave. The only question that matters is, what is the best choice going forward? The past investment should not factor in. Or you buy a movie ticket, and halfway through the film it is terrible. But you stay because I already paid for it. The money is gone either way. You are now paying twice, once with money and once with your time. The rational move is to leave and do something you actually enjoy with the rest of your evening. Stop looking in the rearview mirror when you are trying to drive forward. Step 20. Accept uncertainty. This is the hardest step for most people. We want certainty before we decide. We want to know it will work out. But life does not give guarantees. A study on intolerance of uncertainty showed that people who cannot tolerate uncertainty are more fatigued, more anxious, and more likely to use avoidant decision-making styles, which means they either delay decisions or let others decide for them. Here is the truth. Every decision is a bet. Every single one. You never have perfect information. You never know exactly what will happen. And waiting for certainty is just another form of not deciding. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius wrote in his journal, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In modern language, the uncertainty is the path. Walk it. So instead of asking, "Am I certain?" ask, "Am I informed enough to make a reasonable choice?" If the answer is yes, decide. Accept that you might be wrong. Accept that you might need to adjust later, but decide. Because indecision is like standing in the middle of the road. Eventually, you will get hit by something. Step 21. Build in review points. A decision is not a tattoo on your forehead. Most decisions can be adjusted. So when you make a big choice, set a review date. Plus, say you decide to start a new business. Set a review for 90 days. At 90 days, look at the data. Is it working? Great, keep going. Is it not working? Adjust or exit. No shame, no sunk cost guilt, just review and respond. This turns every decision from a final answer into an experiment. And experiments are not scary, because experiments are designed to be tested. You do not need to be right the first time. You just need to be willing to learn and adjust. In Japanese Zen Buddhism, there is a concept called Shoshin, beginner's mind. It means approaching every situation, even ones you have been in before, with fresh eyes and curiosity. When you build review points into your decisions, you keep your beginner's mind active. You stay open to new information instead of clinging to your original choice out of ego or stubbornness. Step 22. Move your body before big decisions. A review published in the journal Sports Medicine found that physical activity improves executive function, which includes planning, judgment, and decision-making. Exercise increases blood flow to the prefrontal cortex and releases neurochemicals that enhance focus and reduce anxiety. Go for a 20-minute walk before your next big decision. Not a run, not a gym session, just a walk. Walking is particularly effective because it activates both hemispheres of the brain and creates what researchers call bilateral stimulation, which helps process emotions and think more clearly. Plus, Steve Jobs was famous for his walking meetings. He would walk around Palo Alto with colleagues to discuss major decisions. He knew that movement creates clarity. So the next time you feel stuck on a decision, do not sit at your desk and stare at a screen. Stand up, walk outside, move your body. The answer often comes when you stop trying to force it and let your body and brain work together. Step 23. Get an accountability partner. This is not about asking someone for their opinion. This is about having one person who will ask you the hard questions. Why do you really want to do this? What are you afraid of? Are you running towards something or running away from something? This could be a trusted friend, a mentor, a therapist, or a coach. The key is that this person is not invested in your decision. They do not benefit from you saying yes or no. They are neutral. And because they are neutral, they can see your blind spots, the things you cannot see about yourself because you are too close to the situation. There is a Yoruba proverb from West Africa that says, "One tree does not make a forest." No matter how smart or experienced you have blind spots. You have biases. You have emotions that cloud your vision. An accountability partner is like a mirror. They reflect back what you cannot see on your own. Use them. Step 24. Run every big decision through the fear filter. Ask yourself, am I avoiding this because it is a bad idea? Or am I avoiding it because I am scared? These are two very different things, but they feel exactly the same. Fear of failure feels like a warning. Fear of rejection feels like wisdom. Fear of the unknown feels like caution. But often, it is just fear. And fear is a terrible decision maker. Plus, you do not apply for the dream job because you probably will not get it. You do not start the business because the economy is bad. You do not tell someone how you feel because they probably do not feel the same way. Every one of those is fear wearing a disguise. Strip the disguise off. Ask, if I were not afraid, what would I choose? That is usually the right answer. The ancient samurai of Japan had a code called Bushido. One of its core principles was, do not let fear of death prevent you from living. In modern terms, do not let fear of failure prevent you from trying. Step 25. Understand how group decisions work differently. When you make decisions alone, your brain runs one process. When you make decisions in a group, things change. There is a well-documented phenomenon called groupthink, where everyone agrees just to avoid conflict, even when the group is heading toward a terrible decision. The Space Shuttle Challenger disaster in 1986 is one of the most famous examples. Engineers knew the O-ring seals were dangerous in cold weather, but the group pressure to launch on time was so strong that the warning voices were silenced. 7 astronauts died because of a bad group decision. If you are making a decision as a group, appoint one person to play devil's advocate. Their job is to argue against the popular opinion. This forces the group to examine its blind spots. It might feel uncomfortable, but discomfort in the meeting room is a lot better than disaster in the real world. Step 26. Check your energy before you decide. We talked about decision fatigue, but let us make this practical. Before any important decision, rate your energy on a scale of 1 to 10. If you are below a 6, do not decide. Eat something, take a break, go outside. Come back when you are at 7 or higher. This is not being dramatic, it is being strategic. The research on decision fatigue in clinical settings showed that even trained professionals, doctors, judges, financial analysts, make significantly worse decisions when their energy is low. If exhaustion can make a surgeon less accurate, imagine what it does to you when you are deciding about your finances or relationships at the end of a long day. Treat your decision-making ability like a valuable resource, because it is one. You would not run a marathon without eating breakfast. Do not make life-changing decisions without checking your fuel tank first. Step 27. Start a decision journal. Every time you make a significant decision, write down 3 things. 1. What you decided. 2. Why you decided it. 3. How you felt when you decided. Then, 1 month later, go back and review. Was it a good decision? What did you learn? What would you do differently? This practice creates a feedback loop for your decision-making. Over time, you start to see patterns. Plus, maybe you notice that every time you made a decision out of anger, it turned out badly. Or every time you made a decision in the morning, it turned out well. These patterns are gold. They show you your personal decision-making strengths and weaknesses. The Chinese philosopher Sun Tzu said, "Know yourself and you will win all battles." A decision journal is how you get to know your decision-making self. Not the version of yourself you think you are, but the version that the data reveals. And that knowledge is priceless. Step 28. Give yourself permission to change your mind. This one trips up a lot of people. They think that changing your mind means you are weak or indecisive. It does not. It means you are receiving new information and responding to it. The greatest leaders in history changed their minds all the time. Abraham Lincoln changed his stance on slavery as the war progressed. Nelson Mandela went from militant resistance to peaceful negotiation. The ability to update your views based on new evidence is a sign of intelligence, not weakness. A rigid decision maker is like a tree that refuses to bend in the wind. Eventually, it breaks. A flexible decision maker is like bamboo, strong but adaptable. Be bamboo. Hold your ground when it matters, but bend when new information demands it. Now let us apply everything we have learned to specific areas of life, starting with money. Financial decisions are some of the hardest because they involve uncertainty, emotion, and long-term consequences. Here is a simple framework. Before any financial decision over $500, wait 48 hours. Not 24, 48. Why? Because money decisions trigger deep emotions tied to security, self-worth, and survival instincts. Those emotions need extra time to settle. Then, during those 48 hours, write down the decision using the pros/cons method. Run it through your values list, and ask your accountability partner what they think. Also, never make a financial decision when you are feeling either very happy or very sad. Extreme emotions, both positive and negative, distort your risk perception. When you are euphoric, everything looks like a good investment. When you are depressed, everything looks hopeless. The middle ground is where the best financial decisions live. Relationship decisions. These are the emotional heavyweights. Whether to stay or leave, whether to forgive or protect yourself, whether to say how you really feel. Here is the framework. Step 1. Name your emotions using the affect labeling technique. Step 2. Use the 10-10-10 method. How will you feel in 10 minutes, 10 months, 10 years? Step 3. Separate the person from the behavior. Plus, you might love someone deeply, but their behavior is harmful. Loving the person does not mean accepting bad behavior. These are two different decisions. And remember the sunk cost trap. Plus, we have been together for 10 years is not a reason to stay if you are unhappy. The 10 years are gone. The question is, do you want to give another 10 years to the same situation? That is the real question. Be honest with yourself. Be kind to yourself. And make the decision from love, not from fear. Career decisions. These often feel like the heaviest because they affect your income, identity, and daily life. Here is the framework. First, ask the regret question. At 80 years old, will I regret not taking this chance? Second, check the reversibility. Is this a one-way or two-way door? Most career changes are two-way doors disguised as one-way doors. If you take a new job and hate it, you can find another one. If you start a business and it fails, you can go back to employment. The only truly one-way career decisions are things like spending years in specialized education for a field you are not sure about. Those deserve extra thought. Third, trust your body. A study on interoception found that meditators who paid attention to their body signals made better decisions. When you think about a career option, notice what your body does. Does your chest feel open and light, or does it feel tight and heavy? Your body often knows the answer before your mind does. Listen to it. Health decisions are tricky because they require balancing present comfort against future benefit. Plus, going to the gym is uncomfortable now, but beneficial later. Eating cake is pleasurable now, but harmful later. Your brain is wired to prefer immediate rewards over delayed benefits. This is called temporal discounting. Research on impulsive decision-making and the prefrontal cortex showed that impulsive choices happen when too much emphasis is placed on speed rather than accuracy. In health decisions, this means your brain grabs the quick reward and ignores the long-term cost. The fix is to visualize your future self. Plus, close your eyes and imagine yourself at 70, healthy, active, playing with your grandchildren. Now, ask that version of yourself what you should eat today, whether you should exercise, whether you should quit smoking. Your 70-year-old self always gives good advice, because that version of you has already lived the consequences of today's choices. Let us put it all together into a daily practice. I call this the morning decision ritual. It takes 15 minutes and it will transform how you make choices throughout the day. Minute 1 to 5. Box breathing meditation. 4 counts in, 4 hold, 4 out, 4 hold. This activates your prefrontal cortex and calms your amygdala. Minute 5 to 10. Review your values list and your top priorities for the day. This tells your brain what matters and what does not. Minute 10 to 15. Write down any big decisions you need to make today and assign them a time when your energy will be highest. That is it. 15 minutes. And you have now done more to prepare your brain for good decisions than 99% of people do in their entire day. You have cleared the emotional clutter, activated your rational brain, and set up a structure for the decisions ahead. Do this every morning for 30 days and watch your entire life change. At night, spend 5 minutes on the evening decision review. Look back at the decisions you made today. Which ones were good? Acknowledge them. Which ones were not great? Learn from them without beating yourself up. Ask 3 questions. What decision am I proud of today? What decision would I make differently? What did I learn about myself as a decision maker today? Write the answers in your decision journal. Over time, this practice creates what I call decision self-awareness. You start to recognize your patterns in real time. Plus, you will catch yourself about to make an emotional purchase and think, wait, I know this pattern. I always regret these. And that awareness, that tiny moment of pause, is worth more than any advice anyone can give you, because it comes from your own experience. Here is something deep that most people never think about. Every decision you make is a vote for the type of person you are becoming. Plus, when you choose to exercise, you vote for being a healthy person. When you choose to read instead of scrolling social media, you vote for being a knowledgeable person. When you choose to apologize after a fight, you vote for being a humble person. This idea comes from James Clear's work on habit formation, and it applies perfectly to decision-making. Do not ask, what should I do? Ask, who do I want to be? Then make the decision that that person would make. If you want to be a successful entrepreneur, what decisions would a successful entrepreneur make today? If you want to be a loving partner, what decisions would a loving partner make right now? Let your identity lead your decisions, not the other way around, because when your identity is clear, your decisions become obvious. Let me give you a quick cheat sheet of the biggest cognitive biases that mess up your decisions. We have already covered confirmation bias and sunk cost bias. Here are a few more. Anchoring bias is when the first piece of information you hear affects everything after it. Plus, a car dealer tells you the car costs $50,000, then says, but today, just $35,000. You feel like you are getting a deal, but maybe the car was only worth $30,000 all along. The $50,000 was the anchor that made $35,000 feel cheap. Availability bias is when you judge how likely something is based on how easily you can remember an example. Plus, you watch a news story about a plane crash and suddenly you are afraid to fly, even though driving is statistically far more dangerous. Status quo bias is the tendency to do nothing and keep things as they are, even when change would be better. This is the bias that keeps people in bad jobs, bad cities, and bad situations for years. Knowing these biases does not make you immune to them, but it makes you aware. And awareness is the first step to freedom. Step 29. Practice gratitude before making decisions. This sounds strange, but research on positive emotion and decision-making suggests that people make better, more creative decisions when they are in a positive emotional state. Gratitude is one of the fastest ways to shift your emotional state from negative to positive. Before sitting down to make a big decision, write down 3 things you are grateful for. It could be as simple as, I am grateful for my health, my morning coffee, and the fact that I get to make this decision in the first place. This 60-second exercise shifts your brain out of threat mode and into opportunity mode. When your brain is in threat mode, it sees danger everywhere and defaults to safety and avoidance. When it is in opportunity mode, it sees possibilities and is willing to take calculated risks. Gratitude flips the switch. It tells your brain, you are safe. You are okay. Now, think clearly. The ancient Stoic philosophers had one of the most practical frameworks for decision-making ever created. It boils down to a single question. Is this within my control or outside my control? If it is within your control, act. If it is outside your control, let it go. You can control how hard you work on a project, but not whether the client says yes. You can control how you treat your partner, but not whether they stay. You can control how you prepare for an interview, but not whether they hire you. Focus on the controllable. Release the uncontrollable. This one shift will eliminate most of your decision-making anxiety. Marcus Aurelius, who was emperor of Rome and one of the most powerful men in history, wrote in his private journal, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This is decision-making wisdom that has survived for nearly 2,000 years because it works. From the Eastern tradition, we get an equally powerful principle. In Taoism, there is the concept of Wu Wei, which means effortless action or going with the flow. This does not mean being passive. It means not forcing decisions. Sometimes the best decision is to wait, not out of fear, but out of patience. Think about planting a seed. You do not force it to grow. You give it water, sunlight, and time. Then it grows on its own. Some decisions are like seeds. You gather the information, you set the conditions, and then you let the answer come to you. You have probably experienced this. You stress about a problem all day, and then in the shower, the answer just appears. This is because your subconscious mind processes information even when your conscious mind is resting. Sometimes the wisest thing you can do is stop trying to decide and let your deeper mind work on the problem. Sleep on it. Walk away. Trust the process. The answer will come. From Japan, we get the concept of ikigai, which loosely translates to reason for being. It sits at the intersection of 4 questions. What do I love? What am I good at? What does the world need? What can I be paid for? When a major life decision sits at the intersection of all 4 answers, that is your path. Plus, if you love writing, you are good at explaining complex ideas, the world needs better education, and people will pay for online courses, then creating educational content is your ikigai. The decision to pursue it becomes clear. Ikigai is not just about careers. You can apply it to any life decision. When a choice aligns with what you love, what you are skilled at, what serves others, and what sustains you financially, it is almost certainly the right choice. If a decision only satisfies one of these 4, be careful. If it satisfies none, walk away. Step 30. Use the pre-mortem technique. This was developed by psychologist Gary Klein, and it is brilliant. Before you make a decision, imagine that it has already failed, completely, spectacularly. Then ask, why did it fail? Let us say you are about to launch a new product. Do the pre-mortem. It is 6 months later and the product bombed. Why? Maybe because we did not test it enough. Maybe because the pricing was wrong. Maybe because we launched at the wrong time of year. Now you have a list of risks, and you can address them before they happen. This technique works because it bypasses the optimism bias, which is our tendency to overestimate the chances of things going well. By forcing your brain to think about failure, you actually prevent failure. It is like a fire drill for your decisions. You prepare for the worst before it happens, so you can confidently move forward. Here is something that separates great decision makers from everyone else. It is not the quality of the decision that matters most. It is the speed of implementation. A good decision acted on quickly will almost always beat a perfect decision acted on slowly. Most people spend 90% of their energy deciding and 10% executing. Flip that ratio. Spend 10% deciding and 90% executing, because you can always adjust as you go. The decision is just the starting point. The real magic happens in the doing. In the words of General George Patton, a good plan today is better than a perfect plan tomorrow. The world rewards action, not analysis, not planning, not overthinking. Action. So once you have gone through your decision process, move fast, decisively, without looking back. Step 31. Accept that some decisions will turn out wrong, and that is okay. You are not a machine. You are a human being making choices with incomplete information in an unpredictable world. Some of those choices will not work out. That does not make you a failure. It makes you human. The most successful people in the world make more bad decisions than average people, not fewer. They just also make more decisions overall. Plus, a baseball player who bats .300 is considered great, and that means they fail 70% of the time. Embrace the misses, learn from them, move on. Thomas Edison tested over 10,000 materials before finding the right one for the light bulb filament. When asked about his failures, he said, "I have not failed. I have found 10,000 ways that will not work." That is the mindset of a master decision maker. Every wrong decision is a lesson. Every failure is data. Collect the data and keep moving forward. Now here is something truly extraordinary. Small decisions made consistently create massive results over time. This is called the compound effect. Just like compound interest grows your money, compound decision-making grows your life. One good food choice today is nothing, but one good food choice every day for a year transforms your body. 1 hour of reading today changes nothing, but 1 hour of reading every day for 5 years makes you an expert. One kind word to your partner today is nice, but one kind word every day for a decade builds an unbreakable relationship. Do not underestimate the power of small, daily decisions. They are the building blocks of everything you will become. The big, dramatic, life-changing decisions get all the attention, but it is the quiet, daily choices that do 90% of the work. Focus on making your small decisions just 1% better each day, and over time, the results will be staggering. A warning about technology and decision-making. Our phones, apps, and social media platforms are designed to hijack your decision-making process. Every notification is a mini decision. Every scroll is a choice. Every algorithm is built to make you react, not think. The average person checks their phone over 100 times a day. Each check pulls your attention away from what matters and drains your decision-making battery. The companies that build these platforms hire neuroscientists to make their products as addictive as possible. They are literally competing for your prefrontal cortex. The solution? Create boundaries. Plus, turn off notifications for everything except calls and texts from real people. Set specific times for checking email, not all day. Put your phone in another room when making important decisions. Your brain cannot make good decisions while it is being constantly interrupted. Protect your attention like you protect your money, because in the modern world, attention is the most valuable currency you have. Step 32. Take a decision Sabbath once a week. Pick one day where you make as few decisions as possible. Eat the same meals. Wear the same comfortable clothes. Do not check email. Do not shop online. Do not make any plans. Just rest your decision-making brain. This idea comes from the religious tradition of Sabbath, a day of rest. But the neuroscience behind it is solid. Your brain needs recovery time. Plus, just like muscles need rest days between workouts, your prefrontal cortex needs rest between heavy decision-making periods. You will be amazed at how sharp your mind feels on Monday morning after a decision-free Sunday. It is like rebooting a slow computer. Everything runs faster, smoother, and clearer. Give your brain the gift of a day off. It has earned it. Step 33. Teach what you have learned to someone else. When you explain decision-making principles to a friend, a child, or a colleague, your own understanding deepens. This is called the protege effect, and it is well documented in education research. Sit down with a young person in your life and teach them the 10-10-10 method. Explain the sunk cost trap to a friend who is stuck in a bad situation. Share the regret minimization framework with a colleague who is afraid to take a risk. When you teach these concepts, they become part of you. There is a Chinese proverb, "Tell me and I forget. Show me and I remember. Involve me and I understand." When you involve yourself in teaching these principles, you move from knowing them to living them. And that is where the real transformation happens. All right, let us bring it all together. Here is your complete decision-making toolkit. The 2-minute rule for small choices, the 10-10-10 framework for medium choices, the regret minimization framework for life-changing choices, the pre-mortem technique for risky choices, the fear filter for choices you are avoiding, support systems, sleep, nutrition, exercise, meditation, journaling, and an accountability partner, mental models, Stoic control dichotomy, Taoist patience, Japanese ikigai, and beginner's mind. Daily practice, the morning decision ritual and evening decision review. This is not just a collection of tips. This is a system. And systems beat willpower every time. You do not need to remember everything. You just need to build the system and let the system do the work. Start with one thing from this list. Master it. Then add another and another. Within a few months, you will be making decisions with a confidence and clarity that you never thought possible. Here is your action plan for the first 7 days. Day 1. Write down your top 5 values. Day 2. Start the morning decision ritual, just 5 minutes of box breathing. Day 3. Set up your decision journal. Day 4. Identify 3 small decisions you can automate this week. Day 5. Practice the 2-minute rule for every minor choice. Day 6. Take a 20-minute walk and think about one big decision in your life without forcing an answer. Day 7. Your decision Sabbath. Minimal choices, maximum rest. Review what you have learned so far. 7 days. That is all it takes to build the foundation. Not to master it. Mastery takes months and years. But to feel the difference? 7 days. I promise you, by the end of this week, you will already notice that decisions feel lighter, less stressful, more clear, because you will have a system working for you instead of your emotions working against you. And finally, let me leave you with this. Decision-making is not just about picking the right restaurant or the right job. It is about designing the life you want to live. Every decision, big or small, is a brushstroke on the canvas of your existence. The question is, are you painting with intention? Or are you just splashing paint randomly and hoping something beautiful appears? The philosopher William James said that when you have to make a choice and do not make it, that is a choice in itself. Inaction is a decision. Avoidance is a decision. Silence is a decision. You are always deciding. The only question is whether you are doing it consciously or unconsciously. After watching this video, you have no excuse to be unconscious anymore. You have the tools, you have the science, you have the ancient wisdom and the modern research. Now, it is your turn to use them. Start today. Start now. Because the best decision you can make is the decision to start making better decisions. Thank you for staying with me through this entire course. That decision, the decision to watch this all the way through, already tells me something about you. You are someone who invests in yourself. You are someone who wants more from life. And you are someone who is willing to put in the work to get it. So, here is my final challenge. In the comments below, tell me one decision you have been putting off. Just one, and then go make it. Use the tools from this video. Trust the process. Trust yourself. You already know more about decision-making than 95% of people on this planet. Now, go prove it. If this video helped you, smash that like button. Subscribe if you have not already, and share this with one person who needs to hear it. Because good decisions do not just change your life, they change the lives of everyone around you. Now go and decide wisely.